What's up, guys? So my name is Micah, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about the footnote on page 29, footnote number 31. It talks about America's consumption of oil and how much they consume. Is kind of the main key is how much we consume. I'm just going to read the part to you guys that stuck out to me the most. So while Americans made up only 6% of the world population, they consumed one-third of its energy. They used more energy than the people of the Soviet Union, Britain, West Germany, and Japan combined. The biggest gas guzzler was the American automobile. And then it goes on and it talks about um, different types of ways that we use energy the most. So it talks about our cars being the biggest one. So how big our cars are, how much they consume, um, aspects, features in cars that got added to the car in the 1970s around that time frame that differentiated us from the rest of the world. So our car sizes just got exponentially bigger, and they had AC and stuff like that. So it just, to me, it just really stuck out. One thing to another, like, addition is I'm like in love with France, as evidence of the French flag in the back. Um, and so I'm an international studies major. So I like to look at how America's footprint is viewed by the rest of the world. And yeah, just kind of analyzing that. Um, so first off, I took a look at some of the articles that footnote number 31 actually is like a three-part footnote because it has like 3 or 4 articles in there. I was only able to access like 1 or 2 of them, maybe because I couldn't find them or I had to pay for some of them or whatever. But the 2 that I found were super interesting, really long articles. So good information. So in the book, later on in the book, and also in the article, we can see how much oil per barrel is used in America in the 1970s. So first off, just so you guys all know, I didn't know this. So if you guys know this, great for you, good for you. But I didn't know this. So 1 barrel of oil is about 42 gallons or 159 liters of oil. So that's obviously just humongous numbers. Um, so in 1973, 17 million barrels were used per day just in the United States. Just in the United States. So 17 million barrels equates to 714 million gallons of oil per day. And that's not even gasoline, because gasoline is still treated, gasoline is still watered out, gasoline has other stuff as a part of it. In addition, the average price per barrel in barrel of oil in the 1970s was $4.31. So that's $4.31 for 42 gallons of oil. So yeah, I'm just taking a look at how much oil we really use. And obviously, there's different sides of it. So the American culture, we create and we cultivate and we come up with new technologies. So part of our oil usage is because of that. But a big portion of it is used through non-necessary activities. So driving is a huge, huge one. Just how much oil, how much gasoline is used per year in America is ridiculous, because everybody has, their own car. You have a family of 6. By the time, that 6th kid or that 4th kid in that family of 6, by the time the 4th kid is around 16, 17, you either have 1 or 2 cars that have been passed down, or you have a new car or whatever. So that means, like, on average, I'm pretty sure that there's about 1 car per adult in America over the age of 16. So I looked through the article. Part of what I looked at is the luxuries that Americans just get used to. So in the 1970s, before the 1970s, AC wasn't that big of a thing. It was a huge luxury to have air control in your car, to be able to turn it up, turn it down, whatever. And then it just became a normality in the 1970s. And in the cars in 1970s, having the AC on ate 2.5 miles per gallon, which is like not a huge deal, but it adds up. You think about how many people are out on the roads and how many people are driving to work, driving to their friend's house. So 3 out of 4 Americans in the 1970s, based on Panic at the Pump, 3 out of 4 Americans drove their car to work, not taking the bus, not walking, not biking. And I mean, honestly, there's some big cities that we have that, you know, you think about New York, think about San Francisco, LA, like West Coast was still getting a little bit developed during the 70s. But you have those big cities where you're able to live in closer proximity to your work. So that was a really big shock for me. In the book, no, actually, this one was just in the article. In the article that I read, there's somebody named Dr. Barry Commoner. He was an environmentalist in the 70s, and one of his things that he called for was a 75% reduction in automobile traffic in order to keep up with the oil embargo that happened in the 70s. Obviously, it was a suggestion and something that wasn't going to bite, because Americans say, well, we get used to this luxury, like now we're going to kind of enjoy it and we don't want to let go of it anymore. So that was a big thing. And in my opinion, I think it's a little bit of a 75% reduction is a humongous reduction. I think that you should look at more feasible steps in there. Another thing that related to, so this is less on the oil consumption, but more on why we were in that state of needing more oil. Our export to import ratio was, our import to consumption ratio, I guess is a better, was negative at that time. And we weren't able to produce enough oil in America to keep up with the demand. In addition, this is a big one, the US-Israel relation was a huge cause to the oil embargo towards the US in the 1970s, because after World War II, the United States took a big pledge to be an ally towards Israel. And afterwards, that was a big thing that Saudi Arabia could use to launch attacks towards America, attacks being oil, like holding back oil. And America held out their relationship with Israel, which to me is really cool. I like seeing that. So I looked at some compare and contrast of what oil consumption was like in the 1970s and what it was like in 2019, because 2019 was a complete year and we had full data for it rather than 2020. So in 2019, America consumed on average 20.46 million barrels of oil per day, which equates to 859,320,000 gallons of alcohol, gallons of oil, not alcohol. And that equates to 20.4% of the world percentage. So it's better than 33, which is what we used to be at around there. And then another thing I wanted to look at, which I'll show you guys on screen share. If I can do this. Is that this? It is that. Okay. So yeah, I hope you guys can see the screen now. So this is the oil price per barrel in America from the 1950s all the way to 2020. So this is just so you guys can see like a vast picture of what was going on. And then I wanted to show you guys what it was like in 1973. So you kind of have a plateau at 3.56, then 4.3, and then it jumps up to 10.1 in January of 1974, which we haven't gone over yet in the book. At least I haven't gone past chapter 2 to see what that's like, what that's about. And then I looked at, so that's how much it costs per barrel. And then in 2019, its average was around, what was the average? The average was 56.98 per 42 gallons of oil in 2019. I did the math for this one. So you can kind of see it bounces all around. And then if you look at 2020, it kind of drops. And then I also wanted to show you guys oil consumption by country. This Worldometer is actually a site that's super helpful. I've used it for tracking like coronavirus stuff, and there's a lot of ways to measure stuff that's happened in the world. So you see the United States is #1 in consumption, but if you go to per capita and you go to the top, we're luckily not the top one. So that's, definitely a good thing, I would say. So I had a question to engage you guys. One thing that also struck out at me, I just got back from my year abroad, from a year abroad in France, and I realized how much I was using public transportation a lot more, and I actually started to like it. So on page 65, 66, we see a bus ban that is implemented into America to save oil. And I think that America should have used that opportunity, used that time to emphasize the uses of buses rather than personal cars. So I want to know what your guys' opinion on that is in the comments. If you guys think that America is right to continue to continue to use personal cars and stop the bus ban, or if America should have emphasized, should have told people, like, we're going to start using buses and you guys are not going to be able to use your personal cars as much. Thanks, guys.